Yo.
Shawn, what's good, bro?
What's up with you, man?
Oh man, blessed, chilling. Just trying to walk into this next chapter, man. It's surreal almost that I've been back from deployment like only 4 or 5 months, man. Like I feel like I spent forever overseas, and so making minor adjustments here and there, man. Just seeing where things go. How you feeling, bro? How was your Easter?
I'm good. My spring break was nice. My Easter was nice. I got a massage for the first time.
Okay. Oh, like for the first time ever?
For the first time ever, I got a professional massage. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice. She massaged my leg and then my back. I was like, oh. She
was like, oh, what?
My head up and cracked the spot in my spine. I'm like, ooh, I ain't never get that before. That's nice. I'm gonna have to do this one again.
My dog got his back cracked.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go to a chiropractor next. I can't even wait to get adjusted by them.
Man, bro, hey, chiropractors be hitting, but it's pricey. But I mean, man, it'd be worth. You come out there feeling like a whole new human. It's addicting too, so watch out, bro.
Yeah. You know me, I ain't in the budget just yet. That had to be a conversation with the wife.
Yeah, man. I mean, they got little plans you can work out too. So do it smart, obviously, as you always do. Today, welcome to this episode. On today's episode, we are talking about interviews, right? We are talking about landing the bag, increasing the bag, and multiplying the bag. Most people don't quite understand that, it only takes 7 seconds to make a strong first impression. And that first impression can be bad, it can be good, it can be in between. And I've been, me and Shawn, we've been in, certain places, and I've seen how you greet people and you smile. And so as I was coming up, I was looking at this topic, I found this video of this gentleman. He goes by the name of 𝗂𝗂 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞, and he showed perfectly how I've landed quite a few jobs, from everything from management to FedEx to all those things. And we'll talk about this further into the episode. You can even utilize this energy and utilize these things, the energy that he has in these over the phone. You should never be intimidated by over the phone interviews, because a lot of times that will be the interview that typically seals the deal for you. So here we go.
Good morning. I'm here for the job interview. Reginald, welcome. Down the hall and to the right. Thanks. And love your outfit, by the way. Have a great day today. Thank you. Great interview. If you're interested, you're hired. Thank you. You know the receptionist you met when you came in? She's actually one of the owners of the company. Really? Yeah, she likes to come by and help out. But she actually texted me saying that the way you treated her when you came in the building fits the company culture. Wow. Yup. Being nice to everyone the second you walk in the building is one of the most overlooked job interview tips out there. But I gotta ask, who taught you this? I just followed 𝗂𝗂 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞. Good morning. I'm here for the job interview. Reginald, welcome. Final question in today's job interview. Why did you leave your last job? I worked there for a while and I was ready for a new challenge in my career. But my old boss, my old coworkers, all amazing people. Some of the hardest working people I've ever worked with. You know what? You're hired. And nice job using spontaneous trait transference to your advantage. Yes. Wait, what do you mean? By speaking so positively about your old boss and coworkers, I subconsciously associated you with the very traits you described them with. The way you describe others is the way other people will view you. You caught me. But how'd you know that? I follow 𝗂𝗂 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞.
So awesome, man. Make sure y'all go follow 𝗂𝗂 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞 on Instagram and as well as on TikTok. Fantastic guy, fantastic tips and things like that. We always like to share the wealth when we find things like that. And, one of the biggest parts, and things that he had done is he did his research. But his research was kind of in reverse, right? He highlighted his old job and his old boss. So many times we go through life and we interview and we check things out and we're not exactly sure what to highlight about our old jobs, right? We'll get into that a little bit later. We're talking about the STAR method as well. I'm going to highlight that. But it's important to do research both ways. As you're getting ready to transfer from jobs, ensure that you are looking at, you are taking down the information and notes. Hey, I did this on such and such date. Before you transition, you should already have a plan to transition. These days, we're no longer going out and saying, hey, I quit this job and jump to this next job. We want to prepare for that next level job that we want to see. So, Shawn, when it comes down to doing your research, what says Shawn?
All right, so I got a quick story. You know, why not? When I just graduated out of EIU, I started looking for a job in the schools, right? And a couple of them, I walk in, I'm like, man, these kids are crazy. I don't know about this one. But what I did was research the schools before I even got there. Okay. Like my dad told me, hey, if you want to be recognized and noticed, you should go in person. Everybody else just doing it over the internet. So number one, for me, go in person. Okay. But before you go in person, you got to do your research. So I was looking up the schools, right? I'm like, okay, is this a level 1 school? Is this level 2 school? Is it level 3? What is the attendance like? Who is the principal? Can I find that principal on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or whatever? What do they even look like? Just so I know, I can recognize that person as soon as I get to the building, right? I remember when I was doing my research, looking for my first job at WP, and what ended up happening was they had hired somebody at the school that I was supposed to go to. And it was like, I'm sorry, is it okay if we put you at the other school? And I said, yeah, but my interview was still at the same time. So I was upset because I was like, man, I did all this research on the other school, but now I got to go to the other school. But luckily, it was all like sister schools, so it was pretty much the exact same thing. But I mean, even before I even did the interview, that video that you just showed us reminded me when I was dropping off my resume. So I would call up the school and be like, hi, my name is Shawn. I just graduated from EIU and I'm looking for a job basically. Can I just come up and drop off my resume in person? And then they'll be like, sure, you know, you can do it online. And I'm like, oh, no, I just would rather do it in person. So I drive up to the school and then I met the office lady, right? The office manager, the secretary. And I was super nice to her. I said, hello, it's a pleasure to, you know, meet you. I see nobody else is here. She's like, yes, it's summertime. I'm like, are you the only one here? She was like, yeah. I was like, is this all like your whole summer? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, it got to get boring, right? I'm just striking a conversation. Yeah. This is the first lady I've seen in this school. So we have a real nice conversation. And she said, I'm going to make sure that your resume gets to the right hands. So fast forward, you know, they call me. I end up at the other school. I have my interview. Interview goes great. But even though I did my research for the other school and I landed at a different school, my research was still valuable because I was able to ask the right questions. Like, hey, I noticed on the website that your principals have only been here for about 2 years. Why is that? And then they can tell me, oh, this is actually a turnaround school. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, I actually heard about turnaround schools. Is that the reason why this is a charter? Was it a public school before? It's almost like being a lawyer. You ask questions about things you already know the answer to, but they know based off of the way you ask it.
Yeah, and then you know that's beautiful because you become a part of their ecosystem. You went from a total stranger, you know, out of nowhere to this is our guy. Oh, Shawn, that's our man. He's basically family now, right? So even when you go into the job, it's a little more smoother because you also have somebody that's inside the organization. Zora said, shout out to Zora. Our office manager always tells me how people treat her when she passes a resume along, and it impacts my interaction with them. Yeah, see, 100%, right? That's gold right there because everything you do is a part of your interaction, right? Everything, even including social media. So one of the things that we talked about when you were, you know, doing the research and you were looking up people and checking things out, it was one of those things where I was like, for me, you know, I look up my interviewers potentially on social media. I look up the bosses on social media. I look them up on LinkedIn. Sometimes I get a little brave and I add them on LinkedIn just to see what they're talking about. Because if you sharp and they sharp, you know, you got to figure out, hey, what type of individual are you working with? Because LinkedIn is very, very telling, right? Because you have the people that actually interact on LinkedIn. So when you find somebody interacting on LinkedIn, it'll show what things they've commented on LinkedIn. And so I go in there and I'm like, okay, so, you know, the boss is he's interested in, you know, some new plant technology that's going to change the wave, that's going to do all those things, right? I'm like, okay, he commented on that. You know, he was praising these people. You know, I even looked up, he was even, I think they wrote an article or he was in an interview or whatnot for this latest job that I had. but I also found out that he was prior service. I knew that kind of through the interviewing company, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it, right?
Mhm.
But then as I was reading, I found out that he was a Black Hawk pilot. And in one of my previous military jobs, I was on a battalion staff. I was a chemical officer, but I had to come up with react to chemical attack plans for those pilots, right? So I could speak to speak, right? I could talk to talk. I could walk the walk with them because they understood that I was bought into the culture. And it got to a point where, I also, I tapped into new company ventures. I found out that they were looking to convert their steam into energy in the plant. And so as we were walking through the conversation, right, I get excited, so I have to kind of bring myself down. But as we were walking through the conversation, I was like, okay, so, that new steam initiative that you guys have that I looked up, what, and I started asking little intricacies. Okay, how's that rollout going? Are there any issues with that rollout plan and da. Because I also had a background in root cause analysis, right, and process improvement. So when they start giving you those pieces of information, and this was a phone interview, I was actually halfway around the world. I was in Africa at the time on a phone interview. But during that time, I was doing some different body language things, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's very important to greet those people, interact with those people as if they're your coworkers already. Not lax, professional. Smiling, nodding, keeping it basic. You ain't got to go too crazy. I think a lot of people, they think that certain things, some people will try to bait you sometimes into certain conversations just to see what you'll say about those. Right. So there are certain things that I kind of stay away from, like politics and religion and things like that. But when they do mention it, it's not like I'm like, oh, I ain't talking about that. What I do is, okay, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I don't even know. I ain't really got an opinion about it.
I got to do more research.
Yeah, what I'm saying. Oh, I need to check that out, fam. That's usually what it's like. And one of my go-tos, even in the workplace, is, hey, brother, hey, man, hey, sir, how you doing? And just little small talk, little small things. They keep you inside the company because as much as we want you to get the job, we want you to stay at the organization for as long as you decide that you want to. Did you have anything else on your research?
I want to say one more thing since we kind of brought up the whole social media thing. Just because you're looking up them and you're deciding how you should interact with them, don't for a second think that they're not looking you up, deciding how they're going to interact with you. I like to keep my social media nice and clean, bro. And like I said, I don't typically add nobody, unless I get hired and I have a relationship with them. Like on Facebook, that's pretty much the only social media I use. But I made my account private unless you're a friend of mine. And but I'm very specific about what I want other people to see who are not my friends. So I might post a book, right? I might post an article that is spontaneous in the conversations we may have or whatever. So when people go to my Facebook page, they're like, "Man, this dude is smart," right? So that way, if I'm interviewing for people, for a job or whatever, and they look me up, they're like, "Oh, this dude looks really well versed, and he can hold a good conversation," because they can read through my conversation. I'm always keeping in mind what the outside people can also see, so that I can project an image that I want them to see. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. No, that makes sense. And here's the thing: when we look at platforms, LinkedIn is a totally different beast in itself. Because LinkedIn now you can also take little skills tests that actually add to your LinkedIn profile to show that you have expertise in your realm. And so because it has become that kind of bilateral platform, it kind of changes the game when you start adding people, because you'll find out that your boss may have some credentials that you have, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, hey, tell me about, I heard you got your PMP. Oh, okay. And I'm finding that a lot of people, they were like, this is going to make you stand out, et cetera, et cetera. So those are just different connection points, right? So LinkedIn is totally face-to-face, business to business, network to network, clean stuff. And what I typically do on LinkedIn is I shout out my people from our school. So there's some great people that are from our college that are doing some amazing things in the workplace. And so I'll go on their comments and, hey, that was very profound what you said there. And here's why. Boom, 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 boom. This hit me at the core, right? Because it also shows that next level of intentionality and intellectualism that you bring to the table. Right? They're like, okay, this person can have deep conversations. This might be our future poster person for the organization. You just never know where these paths are going to lead. And a lot of times, if you don't get a job somewhere else, somebody else might find your position favorable. Because usually when you ask somebody from one company, they're connected to another company. So that other person, what I found out later is there was somebody that I was looking at their profile who ended up being in the interview later, who also had a LinkedIn profile. So when I got to a next level interview and they got all the plant managers together, they were happened to be people that they were connected to. So it's just a different beast in itself. So next we're gonna get into practicing common interview questions. Shawn, when you in the interview, what's your preparation like prior to going into the interview?
So it depends on whatever I'm looking for, because like when I go through my jobs that I had Popeyes, I had the movie theater, I worked at an ice cream shop, I worked at a school, and everybody has different like questions. So the first thing you want to do is go to Google, type in interview questions for whatever you're looking for, because everybody asks different questions, right?
Yeah.
Popeyes might be like, have you ever had Popeyes chicken before? Like they're not gonna ask that for a school.
Yeah.
But like at Popeyes, I had actually a really interesting question. Who is your role model and why? And I really like that question. I kept that in the back of my head in case that ever came up, because I thought that was a question that would be used in the future. When I was when I got the job for the movie theater and the ice cream shop, to be honest with you, I got those jobs because of my father. So like he had did an interview or whatever on the owners of those places, and they said, what can we do, to scratch your back, basically. And they like, yo, hire my son, he needs a job right now. So I kind of got the job because, who I know, my pop helped them out, so they helped me out. But I could have obviously bombed the interview, but, I didn't. So the question was more so like, what can you do for us? Like, what can you provide for the company to make us even better? Okay, I'm going to keep that question in the back of my head because that could always be used. When I was at the school, right? When I was in an interview at the school, they're asking, why do you want to teach? I'm like, okay, I think that's a question that's going to come up in the future when I tell people that I was a teacher. Even if I do something totally different, like, I don't know, financial education or personal finance, something, I don't know, a fireman, doesn't matter. They're going to be like, yo, you were a teacher for 10 years. Why? So I have to have these questions in my head and my answers prepared so that way it can come off very confidently.
Yeah. That's dope. So when I come down to, I'm glad that you talked about preparing those questions in your head. For me, I'm more of a pen and paper type of person, and then I start to remember the information and I can kind of bring it back into it. Because I'm at a point in my career where I've had a bunch of different management positions. I could write a resume all the way down to the floor, and I want to kind of look at what's more relative. And so what I lean on is the STAR method. The STAR method is situation, task, action, and result, right? So we're looking at a situation, hey, because a lot of times they'll do, interviews based off of core competencies. Tell me a time where you had to be flexible, or tell me a time where you had to collaborate, what you did, or, tell me a time where, you had to be resilient, right? And so I'm gonna actually pull this up and I'll show my notes real quick. Share screen. I'll pull this up real quick and show what I kind of go through. So for me here, STAR method. So based off of core competencies. And so the two core competencies, I'm just referencing collaboration and flexibility. But what I typically find is using the STAR method, it will usually map to any type of competency that you do have. And if you check in the comments for the chat, on the chat, I actually posted the FBI's core competencies that they actually tap into. So for me, I chose, I said, oh yeah, tell me a time where you had to collaborate and you had to be flexible, right? So my situation came from one of my deployments, right? So situation, we caught wind of an exercise at foreign partners. that foreign partners wanted to conduct that the last unit forgot to inform us of. And, the task was we were supposed to conduct a joint allied partner combat rescue mission exercise, right, with foreign partners. And then what I did was I began hosting meetings. I met with the Navy, I met with the Marine Corps, I met with the Air Force, and I met with our foreign partners so I could gather their info and their expectations. I brought all the key stakeholders in the room. I'm going to say this again. I brought all the key stakeholders in the room. The reason why I said that is because when you get into project management, when you get into management, most companies and organizations are huge on key stakeholders. Who are the key stakeholders? They could be your customers. They could be the person doing the work, the people that have an interest in what you're doing. That's a project management principle. So I gathered them. I gathered all the information, figured out what our left and right limits were. Okay, hey, we can't give you 10 planes and all of these extra things that you want because we might be limited on resources at the time, and that raises our risk. So we can't actually do actual missions in the real world, right? Because we practice how we fight, but the fight is a little bit more important than the actual practices at times. So the result, we were able to conduct 2 rescue missions, one on water, one on land, as well as include our foreign partners, right? And the truth is, the original group, they got 6 months to plan this based off of the data that I had collected in the newspaper clippings. And we accomplished that in 3 weeks, right? So if you look at that, that's a whole mouthful of things that tap into a bunch of different key points. But when it came to collaboration, we were able to gather the expectations of our allied partners and our military branches to meet and accomplish one common goal, right? And then flexibility. We accomplished mission objectives in 3 weeks without hiccups. There was no injuries. Everybody got home safely and they enjoyed the training. It got to a point where the next group that swapped out with the people were like, "Where's Captain Hamilton at? He gonna get y'all right." But I was getting ready to leave, and so it just ended up being one of those situations. But it was one of those things where you look at it and you're like, okay, the STAR method, it piecemeals up any situation. And what I typically like to do is I like to tie it to the specific job that I'm doing or the specific jobs that I have on my resume. I got down to a rule where I pick, hey, shout out to 𝗿𝗁, salute to you, fam. Appreciate you tapping in. I got to a point where I'm only looking at, I typically only put 3 key positions because I've got so much on my resume now that are tied to the specific job and the specific position. And when I'm building that resume out, I'm using the LinkedIn description or the Indeed description to actually rebuild out my resume. And so a lot of people, it may seem like folly, but for a lot of people, they actually use technology to suck in these resumes. And so they're looking for key words and key sentences from the actual job posting they put out there. So, that helps out a lot. So STAR method, core competencies that'll help you out a lot. Look up the STAR. I mean, it saved me, from thinking like I got all this stuff on my brain. They're like, oh, what did you, in the past, I'd be like, when I did this, I did that. And when I did this, I did that. But if I'm thinking about the jobs that are listed, we're smooth sailing. Is there anything else that you had for this bullet point?
No, that's about it.
All right. So we're getting down to mastering body language. Shawn, how can I master body language? And I'm gonna preface this by saying Shawn body language is confident. So go ahead, let us know, bro.
To be honest with you, I would probably say you should Google or read a book on body language. I know I remember reading a book. I forgot what it was, but I read a book in EIU and watched some YouTube videos about body language. I don't even know why, but I wanted to exude more confidence. So like just sitting up, nice and tall, being able to project your voice, taking pauses. It's okay to take a pause when you speak. What you wear, right?
Yeah.
Gives off confidence. Getting a haircut, being clean, smelling good. I think all of that is just part of body language. I think that is really what gets you the job. Like if you come in on point, your speech is on point, you know exactly what you want to say, and you know other ways to say exactly what you want to say. I feel like you just, I don't know, you come off different than everybody else. We talked about the smile. Make sure you're smiling.
Yep.
You know, it just works. People are able to connect with you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is with that body language piece, your preparation builds the confidence and it changes your posture and your energy in the room. When it comes down to when you talk about clothing that fits you, not too fitting, but fits your body type well, will help with your posture as well. It makes you come off as more confident. It's you versus you having your clothes is just all over, they loose, they're not professional, etc. It says something differently about you. One of the biggest things that really changed, and I watched this change over time. The more that I worked on my physical fitness, the better reactions that I got when I walked into rooms. Because when I'm doing deadlifts and when I'm doing bench press, it's actually bringing my chest out. I have a bigger, fuller chest now than when I was 250 pounds, right? 260 pounds. My chest is bigger, and so my chest to waist ratio is different. So I naturally walk more confident. And so when I sit in a lot of rooms, I'm here, right? But you don't want to be here, right? You don't want to be here. You want to be here, right? Because as much as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them. You're not slouching too much. You ain't like this. But, at the same time, you want to be relaxed. You don't want to be too uptight. Because a lot of times that confidence shows, hey, especially if you're interviewing for management or leadership or something like that, if you can have a good quality dialogue without being too aggressive and smiling, right? The smile takes off that, the aggressive energy, you know what I'm saying? Then it's going to help you out a lot. For me, smiling through the phone, right? That's a piece of body language that you can do on your end, right? Because watch this. Ask me a question. Just any random question.
What are you having for dinner tonight?
McDonald's is cool. Now ask that question.
What are you having for dinner tonight?
I think I'm gonna have some chicken, and I think I'm gonna have some, some fish, or and a side of vegetables. Like there's just an energy that you hear and the sound that you hear coming from your voice. It sounds like you want to be there. Nod your head, right? So a lot of things that we do on the podcast, when you nodding, they be just awkward if I'm just sitting. Go ahead, nod. It's just awkward, right? So if I go, you nod, I'm like, yeah, and that energy goes back and forth, right? You're transferring energy between you two, and you're having a good time. And then don't slouch. You talked about this. Good posture shows confidence everywhere. And I'm gonna tell the crowd this, the audience this. Everywhere that Shawn goes, he got that posture going on. Shawn be strutting. He's just a confident dude. Like it don't matter what he's doing. He's smoking and joking, whatever. He is just interacting. He's a confident guy. And so those are things preparation is going to help you do. But mastering body language is huge, and it really does make a whole lot of difference. Did you have anything else as far as body language?
I got one. The crossing of the arms like this when you're talking to people. Once you become conscious of it, you got to let it go and appear more open and use your hands more when you speak. I think being aware of that, or even being aware of your facial expressions. Like if somebody says something that pisses you off, and you don't want them to know you're upset, you just smile. Just smile, and everything just changes about you. Like even the words you're gonna choose next. If you're more conscious of your body language, I think you'll have more positive interactions with everybody.
100%. And that'll change your entire day. Not only will it change your day, but it'll change your interview, and your interview will change your results. We really want y'all to get to the bag, So when it comes down to getting to the bag, interviewing is key. Start looking at, hey, even if you're not planning on leaving your job today, start looking at other positions and saying, if I was to put myself in the best position to get this next job, how would I start preparing now? And start doing that. Start, writing down the things that you're doing, in a monthly basis. Hey, I did this, I accomplished this, I accomplished that. Because you'd be very surprised. If you're a go-getter, you'd be very surprised what positions you actually qualify for. Because the other day, I posted a stat that said there's like 10 million job openings were posted in 2022. So your next level up to get that bag it's around the corner. It's probably already right in front of you. You just haven't applied for it. So, if you have any questions or anything, feel free, to email me and Shawn, and we'll get back to you, and chop it up with you. TommyLee@ProPrag.com. You got Shawn at ProPrag.com. This has been another episode of Bag Talk 101. I'm Tommy.
I'm Shawn.
And we appreciate y'all. Thanks for tapping in.